Hello friends. Before we begin tonight's story, I need to ask you something. Nearly 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel. If these stories give you chills and keep you coming back, please hit that subscribe button. It truly helps the channel grow. Also, leave a like and drop a comment below. Where are you watching from tonight? Your interaction helps these horror stories reach others who crave the darkness just like you do. Thank you for being here. December 2023, 60 miles off the Oregon coast. A commercial fisherman with 27 years of experience sees something that makes him walk away from the ocean forever. Something massive followed his boat. Something that glowed in the darkness. Something that shouldn't be real. This is what Marcus saw, and why he'll never return to deep water. Let's begin. My name is Marcus. I'm 49 years old now, and I live in Newport, Oregon. For 27 years, I worked as a commercial fisherman on the Pacific coast. I owned my own boat, had a good crew, made a decent living, but I don't fish anymore. Not since December 2723. POPLE. Ask me why I quit. I tell them I wanted to retire early, that the work was getting too hard on my body. That's partially true. Commercial fishing is brutal. Work 16-hour days in freezing conditions, constant danger, your body taking a beating from the motion of the boat and the physical labor. But that's not why I quit. I quit because of what I saw out there. 60 miles offshore, in water 300 feet deep, in the middle of winter. I saw something that changed everything. I thought I knew about the ocean, about what lives in the deep water, about what's possible. Let me back up. I started fishing when I was 18, working as a deckhand on my uncle's crab boat. The money was good, and despite the danger and the exhaustion, I loved it. There's something about being out on the ocean, completely removed from civilization, that gets into your blood. The vastness of it, the power, the indifference. The ocean doesn't care about you. It doesn't care if you live or die. It doesn't care about your plans or your family or your dreams. You're just another organism moving across its surface. And if you make a mistake, or if you're unlucky, it will kill you without hesitation. That sounds dark, but it's not. It's freeing. When you're out there, the only things that matter are your skills, your crew, and your respect for the water. Everything else falls away. It's just you and the ocean. By the time I was 25, I'd saved enough to buy my own boat. A 48-foot commercial fishing vessel I named the Lady Sarah, after my mother. She wasn't fancy or new, but she was solid. Good diesel engines, reliable hydraulic systems, and most importantly, a hull that could handle the brutal seas we get off the Oregon coast in winter. I worked that boat for 22 years. Dungeness crab was my main catch, but I also did salmon runs in the summer, tuna when the season was good, whatever paid well and was in demand. I had a regular crew, good men. Experienced, the kind of people you trust with your life, because out there, that's exactly what you're doing every time you leave port. Over those 22 years, I saw a lot. Storms that made you think the world was ending. Waves 40 feet high that could flip a boat and kill everyone on board in seconds. Whales breaching so close to the boat, you could reach out and touch them. Great white sharks circling, waiting for us to throw fish guts overboard. I pulled men out of the water who shouldn't have survived. I watched boats go down in minutes, swallowed by the sea, like they never existed. I've been in fog so thick you couldn't see your own hands in front of your face. Navigating entirely by instruments, praying you don't hit a rock or another vessel. I've seen a lot, but nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what happened in December 2023. The trip started normally, routine even. It was December 3rd, 2023. We were planning a 4-day crab fishing expedition to an area about 60 miles offshore, near an underwater ridge system where Dungeness crabs congregate during winter months. My crew that trip was 3 men I trusted completely. Danny, my first mate, 52 years old, built like a bear, with a gray beard and hands like iron. Danny had been fishing longer than I had, almost 30 years. He knew boats, he knew the water, and most importantly, he stayed calm when things went wrong. You need someone like that when you're 60 miles from land in 20-foot seas. Kevin, one of my regular deckhands. Early 30s, quiet but incredibly reliable. He'd been working commercial fishing for 8 years and knew the job inside and out. Strong, competent, no drama. And Tyler. I never learned his last name, actually. We all just called him Tyler. He was 23, the youngest of the crew. He'd only been working with us for about 6 months, but he was eager to learn, strong, and handled the work well. Good kid. This was going to be his first winter crab run, and he was excited about it. The 4 of us left Newport Harbor at 7:30 a.m. on December 3rd. The weather forecast was acceptable. Some wind, some chop, but nothing we couldn't handle. December is never calm off the Oregon coast, but this looked manageable. The plan was straightforward. Motor out to our fishing grounds, spend 3 days setting and pulling crab pots, fill the hold with Dungeness crab, and head back to port. If the catch was good, we'd make $30,000 to $50,000 for the trip, split among the crew. For 4 days of hard work, that's decent money. The run out to the fishing grounds took about 6 hours. We were traveling at a steady 9 knots, the boat cutting through moderate swells, diesel engines rumbling reliably beneath our feet. I remember that trip out clearly. The sky was overcast, that low gray ceiling we get in winter. The water was a dark blue gray, almost black in some places. The air temperature was maybe 45 degrees, and with the wind chill from the boat's movement, it felt closer to 30. Tyler spent most of the trip out on deck, staring at the ocean. I could tell he was nervous. His first time being this far offshore. I went out to check on him around noon. "You doing okay?" I asked. He looked at me and smiled, but I could see the tension in his face. "Yeah, it's really big, you know, the ocean. I grew up in Portland. I'd only seen the ocean from the beach before I started this job, but being out here, in the middle of it, it's different." "It is," I said. "You scared?" He thought about it, then nodded. "A little. Is that normal?" "If you're not scared out here, you're stupid," I told him. "Fear keeps you careful, keeps you alive. The ocean will kill you the second you get complacent or cocky. Respect it, stay alert, and you'll be fine." He nodded, looking back out at the water. "Have you ever seen anything weird out here? Like things that don't make sense?" "What do you mean?" "I don't know. Just the ocean's so big and so deep. Seems like there could be things down there we don't know about." I remember feeling a strange chill when he said that, like a premonition. "Probably," I said. "We've only explored about 5% of the ocean floor. The rest is completely unknown. Could be anything down there." "Does that scare you?" he asked. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but mostly I just don't think about it. I stay in my lane, work the surface, pull the crabs, go home. What's in the deep water? That's not my business. If only I'd stuck to that philosophy." We reached our fishing grounds around 1:30 p.m. The area we were working was about 60 miles west-northwest of Newport, over an underwater ridge system that rises from the seafloor. The ridge creates currents and upwellings that bring nutrients to the surface, which attracts baitfish, which attracts crabs. It's a productive fishing ground, and I'd worked it dozens of times before. The water depth over the ridge varied between 250 feet to about 400 feet. Deep enough to be dangerous, but not impossibly deep. We'd be setting our crab pots to sit on the bottom, baited with chopped fish, and leaving them for 12 to 24 hours before pulling them up to harvest the crabs. Setting pots is hard, repetitive work. Each pot is a steel frame cage, roughly 3 feet by 3 feet, weighing about 80 pounds empty. We had 200 pots to set, which meant 200 trips across the deck, baiting each pot, attaching it to a buoy line marked with our permit number, and dropping it overboard in a specific GPS-marked location so we could find it again. The 4 of us worked steadily through the afternoon. The process was mechanical, almost meditative. Grab a pot, check the frame for damage, attach fresh bait to the bait cage inside, clip on the buoy line, check the GPS coordinates, and heave it over the side. Move to the next pot. Repeat by 6 p.m. As the light was starting to fade, we'd set all 200 pots in a grid pattern, covering roughly 10 square miles of ocean floor. Our hands were raw, our backs ached, and we were soaked with seawater and sweat despite the cold. But we'd done it. The hard part was over. Now we just had to wait for the crabs to find the bait and crawl into the pots. We motored about a mile away from our pot field and dropped anchor for the night. The plan was to let the pots sit for 18 hours, then start pulling them tomorrow morning. Danny cooked dinner in the galley. Canned chili heated on the propane stove, served with bread and strong coffee. We ate quickly, barely talking. We were all exhausted. By 8 p.m., Danny, Kevin, and Tyler had gone below to sleep in the berths. I took the first watch, which meant staying awake for 4 hours to monitor the instruments, watch the weather, and make sure we didn't drag anchor or drift into danger. The night was clear for December. No fog, no rain, no moon, but the stars were incredible. When you're 60 miles offshore with no light pollution, the sky looks different. The Milky Way stretches across the darkness like a river of light. I've seen it thousands of times, but it never stops being beautiful. I sat in the wheelhouse, drinking coffee, watching the instruments, and listening to the ocean. Around 10:30 p.m., something caught my attention on the radar screen. There was a contact. Another vessel, maybe 3 miles to our northwest. The radar showed it as a decent-sized boat, probably another fishing vessel. But it wasn't moving. I watched the screen for several minutes. The contact just sat there, stationary. Not unusual, could be another fishing boat anchored for the night, or a research vessel conducting some kind of study. But something about it felt wrong. I picked up the VHF radio and switched to channel 16, the standard hailing frequency. Unidentified vessel northwest of my position. This is the fishing vessel Lady Sarah. Do you copy? Over. Static. I waited 30 seconds, then tried again. Unidentified vessel. This is Lady Sarah on channel 16. Are you receiving? Do you require assistance? Over. Nothing but static. I watched the radar. The vessel stayed in the same position, not drifting with the current, not moving at all, just sitting there. Could be a lot of things. Maybe their radio was off. Maybe they were sleeping and didn't hear the hail. Maybe they were too busy to respond. But I kept watching it. For the next hour and a half, that vessel didn't move. It just sat there 3 miles away, like a ghost ship. And then, at exactly midnight, it disappeared from the radar. Not like it sailed away. 1 second it was there, a solid contact on the screen. The next second, it was gone. I stared at the radar, confused. I adjusted the settings, thinking maybe it was a glitch. I expanded the range, contracted it, switched to different display modes. Nothing. The vessel was just gone. I checked the radar system. Diagnostics. Everything showed green. No errors. No malfunctions. The boat had simply vanished. I told myself it was just a radar anomaly. It happens sometimes, especially with older equipment. Atmospheric conditions can cause false contacts, or real contacts can drop off the screen temporarily. But deep down, I knew that wasn't normal. I kept watching the radar for the rest of my watch. The contact never reappeared. At midnight, I woke Daddy to take over the watch. I went below to my berth and tried to sleep, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I woke at 6 a.m. to the sound of Danny starting the engines. The plan was to begin pulling pots at first light, which in December meant around 7:30 a.m. We wanted to get as many pots pulled as possible while the weather held. I went topside and checked the conditions. The wind had picked up overnight, probably 20 knots, gusting to 25. The swells were running 8 to 10 feet, not dangerous, but uncomfortable. The boat pitched and rolled as we motored towards the first buoy marker. Danny, Kevin, Tyler, and I gathered on deck. We were all wearing heavy rain gear and work gloves. The air is cold, maybe 40 degrees, and damp with ocean spray. Pulling crab pots is hard, dangerous work. The process is simple but physically demanding. Motor up to the buoy that marks where the pot is. Use a hydraulic winch to pull the pot up from the seafloor. Swing it onto the deck, open it, sort the crabs, rebait the pot, and drop it back down. Then motor to the next buoy and repeat 200 times. Each pot, when it comes up full of crabs and seawater, can weigh 300 to 400 pounds. If the winch cable snaps, or if the pot swings wrong in heavy seas, it can crush you or knock you overboard. Commercial fishing has one of the highest fatality rates of any profession in America. People die doing this work every year. But that's the job. The first pot came up heavy, good sign. When Danny swung it onto the deck and we opened it, we found maybe 20 decent-sized Dungeness crabs inside. Legal size, healthy, active. We sorted them quickly. Males over a certain size went into the hold. Females and undersized males went back into the ocean. The second pot was even better, 30 crabs. The third pot, 25. We were looking at a good catch. If this continued, we'd have a profitable trip. Pots 4 through 50 all came up similar. Decent to excellent catches. We worked steadily through the morning, the rhythm of the work taking over. Motor to the buoy, hook the line, winch up the pot, swing it on deck, sort, rebait, drop. Motor to the next buoy, repeat. By 11 a.m., we'd pulled 50 pots, and were feeling good. Then we hit pot number 51. Danny was operating the winch. Kevin, Tyler, and I were on deck, ready to grab the pot when it came up. The winch started pulling. Immediately, we could all tell something was wrong. The cable went tight, really tight. The motor screamed with strain. The boat listed slightly to starboard from the weight. "What the hell?" Danny called from the winch. "Controls. This feels like it's hooked on a rock or something." I checked the GPS coordinates. We set this one in the same depth as the others. Should be clear bottom. Well, something's wrong. This thing weighs a ton. Sometimes pots get snagged on underwater obstructions, rocks, old shipwrecks, debris. When that happens, you have two choices. Pull hard enough to break it free, or cut the line and lose the pot. Losing a pot means losing money. Each pot costs about $200, so we always try to pull it free first. Danny increased power to the winch. The cable vibrated with tension. I could hear the fibers in the cable starting to pop. "Careful," I warned. "If that cable snaps, it'll cut someone in half." And then, suddenly the resistance released. The pot shot upward toward the surface. "It's coming," Kevin shouted. We watched the cable as the pot rose through the water. When it broke the surface, we all saw immediately why it had been so heavy. The pot was completely covered in something. Not seaweed, not fishing net, something else. It looked almost like organic material. Black, thick, slimy. It was wrapped around the entire pot so tightly that we could barely see the steel frame underneath. "What the hell is that?" Tyler asked, his voice uncertain. Danny swung the pot over the deck and lowered it. The hydraulics groaned under the weight. This pot had to weigh close to 500 pounds. We gathered around it. Up close, the substance was even stranger. It wasn't seaweed or kelp. I'd seen every type of marine vegetation that grows in these waters, and this was none of them. It had a weird texture, almost like muscle tissue, but fibrous and gelatinous at the same time. And it was black, not dark green like kelp, but true black, like oil. And it stank. God, it stank. Like rotting fish mixed with something chemical, something acidic and wrong. The smell made my eyes water. "Is that some kind of algae?" Kevin asked. "I've never seen algae like this," I said. Tyler reached out to touch it. "Don't," I snapped. "We don't know what it is." We grabbed knives and started cutting it away from the pot. It was tough to cut through, rubbery, almost. As we peeled it away, we could see that it had gotten inside the pot as well, wrapped around the bait cage and tangled around the crabs. And the crabs were dead. Not just dead, desiccated, dried out. Their shells looked normal, but when you picked one up, it weighed almost nothing, like something had sucked all the moisture and meat out of them, leaving just the empty shell. I picked up one of the dead crabs and examined it. The shell was intact, no visible damage, but when I cracked it open, there was nothing inside. No meat, no organs, no fluid, just empty. "This isn't right," Daddy said quietly. His face had gone pale. "Marcus, we need to leave, right now. We've got 150 more pots out here," I said. "That's $20,000 worth of gear. I don't care about the gear. Something about this is wrong. Look at these crabs. Look at that, whatever it is. We need to get out of here." I looked at the fouled pot of the desiccated crabs, at the black substance dripping onto the deck. Every instinct I had was screaming that Daddy was right. We should cut our losses, abandon the gear, and run for port. But I was the captain. And the captain makes the hard decisions. $20,000 in gear, plus 3 more days of potential catch. We'd invested time and fuel getting out here. I couldn't just walk away from that. "We keep pulling," I said, "but we stay alert. Anything else weird happens, we cut and run." "Agreed?" Danny didn't look happy, but he nodded. We threw the fouled pot overboard. There was no way we were going to try to clean that mess and move on to the next buoy. Over the next 5 hours, we pulled another 90 pots. The pattern became clear quickly. Roughly 1 out of every 8 or 9 pots came up fouled with that black substance. And every single fouled pot had the same result. Dead, desiccated crabs, that terrible smell, and that oily black material wrapped around everything. The pots that came up clean had excellent catches. Healthy, active Dungeness crabs. We were keeping good numbers, but we were also losing pots. Every fouled pot was so badly contaminated that we just cut the lines and let them sink. By early afternoon, we'd lost 18 pots, $3,600 worth of equipment, and we still had 60 pots left to pull. The weather was deteriorating. The swells had increased to 15 feet, and the wind was gusting to 35 knots. The forecast called for a major storm system moving in that evening. We needed to finish pulling the pots and start running for port, or we needed to abandon the remaining deer and leave immediately. I made the call to finish 60 pots. If we worked fast, we could have them all pulled by dark and still have time to run ahead of the storm. But as we worked, I started noticing other things that weren't right. The water around us looked wrong. Normally, the Pacific out here is a deep blue-gray color, especially in winter. But now it looked darker, almost black in places, and there was an oily sheet on the surface, not like diesel fuel or industrial pollution, but something organic, something that caught the light in strange rainbow patterns. And the smell, even when we weren't pulling fouled pots, there was this faint chemical odor in the air, like chlorine or bleach mixed with decay. "You guys smell that?" Kevin asked around 2 p.m. "Yeah," Danny said. "The water's wrong. Something's contaminated it." Tyler was leaning over the side, looking down into the water. "There's no fish," he said suddenly. He was right. Normally when you're working out here, you see marine life constantly. Seabirds diving for baitfish, seals and sea lions popping up to investigate what you're doing. Sometimes dolphins or whales in the distance. The ocean is alive. But now there was nothing. No birds, no seals, no signs of life anywhere except for the 4 of us on the boat. The ocean was dead silent except for the wind and the waves slapping against the hull. "We need to leave," Danny said again, his voice tight. "Right now, forget the rest of the pots. We need to get out of here." I was about to agree with him. Finally, my gut was overriding my practical sense when Tyler shouted from the port side, "There's something in the water." We all ran to the railing. About 40 yards off the port side, there was a disturbance in the water, not like a fish breaking the surface or a wave pattern. This was different. The water was churning, swirling, like something massive was moving just below the surface. And then we saw it, a shape, dark, moving parallel to the boat. Huge. "Is that a whale?" Kevin asked. "No," Denny said, his voice barely above a whisper. "That's too big to be a whale. I've seen blue whales before. I've seen them up close, surfacing next to the boat to breathe. Blue whales are the largest animals to ever exist on Earth, up to 100 feet long, weighing up to 200 tons. This thing was bigger, a lot bigger. The shape was hard to define clearly because it was submerged, visible only as a dark silhouette just below the surface. But my brain was trying to calculate the scale, and the numbers didn't make sense. This thing was at least twice the length of a blue whale, maybe more. At least 200 feet long, possibly longer. And it was following us. "Get us moving," I told Danny. My voice was calmer than I felt. Right now. Danny ran to the wheelhouse and fired up the engines. We still had maybe 15 pot lines trailing in the water behind us. We hadn't finished pulling them, but I didn't care anymore. The engines roared to life. The boat surged forward, picking up speed. I watched the shape in the water. It kept pace with us. We were doing 10 knots, 12 knots, 15. The thing matched our speed effortlessly, swimming alongside us maybe 50 yards off the port side, just below the surface. "What is that?" Tyler whispered. His face had gone white. His hands were shaking. "I don't know," I said. "But we're getting away from it." Danny pushed the throttle harder. We hit 20 knots, nearly full speed for the Lady Sarah. The shape kept pace, and then it dove. 1 second it was there, clearly visible as a dark mass just below the surface. The next second it dropped straight down, disappearing into the depths. We all stood at the railing, staring at the water, waiting for it to come back. It didn't. "Is it gone?" Kevin asked after maybe 30 seconds of silence. Before anyone could answer, the boat lurched violently to starboard. Something had hit us from below. We were all thrown across the deck. I grabbed the railing to keep from being thrown overboard. Tyler slammed into the deck hard and started sliding toward the edge, but Danny lunged forward and caught his arm. The boat rocked violently back to port, then settled. "What the fuck was that?" Tyler shouted, his voice breaking with fear. I ran to the wheelhouse and checked the instruments. The depth sounder showed 320 feet of water beneath us. But there was something else on the screen, a large mass, directly beneath the boat. "Danny, we need to move now." He was already at the controls, pushing the throttle to maximum. The engine screamed. The boat surged forward. I watched the depth sounder. The mass beneath us moved with us for maybe 5 seconds, matching our speed. Then it dropped away, descending into deeper water, and disappeared off the screen. We didn't stop running until we put 15 miles between us and that location. By the time we finally stopped, it was nearly dark. The storm system had fully moved in. The seas were brutal, 25-foot swells, heavy rain, wind gusting to 50 knots. Normally we would have kept running, pushed through the night, and made it back to Newport by morning. But we were exhausted. The crew was rattled, and the engines needed to cool down after running at maximum power for over an hour. We found a relatively sheltered area in the lee of some rocky outcroppings, about 40 miles offshore, and dropped anchor to ride out the worst of the storm. The 4 of us gathered below deck in the galley. Nobody was talking. We were all processing what had just happened. Finally, Kevin broke the silence. "What do you think that was?" "I don't know," I said. "It wasn't a whale," Danny said flatly. "I've been working these waters for 30 years. I know what whales look like. That wasn't a whale." "Could it have been a giant squid?" Tyler suggested. "I've read that they can get huge, like 60 feet or more." "Giant squid live in the deep ocean," Danny said. "Thousands of feet deep. They don't come to the surface, and they definitely don't ram boats." "Then what the hell was it?" Tyler's voice was rising with stress. None of us had an answer. We sat in silence, listening to the storm rage outside. The boat pitched and rolled in the heavy seas. Rain hammered against the cabin roof like machine gun fire. Around 9 p.m., Danny and Kevin went to the forward berth to try to sleep. Tyler took the middle bunk. I stayed up, taking the night watch. I sat in the wheelhouse, monitoring the instruments, watching the radar, listening to the storm. The rain was so heavy I couldn't see 20 feet beyond the bow. The radar showed no other vessels in the area. We were completely alone. Around 11 p.m., Tyler came up from below. "Can't sleep," he said. "Too wound up. Mind if I keep you company?" "Sure. There's coffee if you want. It's old, but it's hot." He poured himself a cup and sat in the co-pilot's seat. We sat in silence for a while. Then Tyler asked, "Marcus, do you believe in sea monsters?" I looked at him. "You mean like in old sailors' stories? Krakens and sea serpents?" "Yeah. I mean, what if they're real? What if there really are things down there that we don't know about?" "The ocean's big," I said, "and deep. We've only explored about 5% of it. Could be a lot of things down there we haven't discovered. But something that big, how could it stay hidden? The ocean's deeper than most people realize. The Mariana Trench is almost 7 miles deep, 7 miles straight down, and most of the ocean floor is completely unexplored. We have better maps of Mars than we do of our own ocean floor. If something wanted to hide down there, we'd never find it." Tyler was quiet for a moment, staring out at the darkness. "I grew up in Portland," he said, "completely landlocked. I'd only been to the beach a couple times before I started this job. My dad thought I was insane for wanting to be a fisherman. He said the ocean would kill me eventually." "Your dad might be right," I said, honestly. "This is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. You know that." "Yeah, but I love it. There's something about being out here, away from everything. It's like you're in a completely different world." "You are in a different world," I said. "Out here, the normal rules don't apply. Civilization doesn't matter. The land doesn't matter. It's just you and the ocean doesn't care about you at all. It'll kill you without hesitation if you make a single mistake, or if you're just unlucky." "You ever been scared out here before?" he asked. "Every single time I leave port," I said. "If you're not scared, you're stupid. Fear keeps you careful. Fear keeps you alive." "I'm scared now," Tyler admitted quietly. "Good," I said. "So am I." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the storm through the wheelhouse windows. And then, around 1 a.m., something happened that I still can't explain. The instruments started going haywire. The GPS started flickering. The coordinates on the screen jumped around randomly. 1 second showing us 40 miles offshore. The next second showing us in the middle of Nevada. Then back to the ocean, but 300 miles south of where we actually were. The depth sounder went crazy. The display showed the ocean floor rising and falling impossibly fast. 300 feet, then 5,000 feet, then 20 feet, all within seconds. The compass spun in circles like a toy. The VHF radio crackled with static and strange sounds, clicks and tones that didn't sound like normal interference. And then, all at once, everything shut off. The instruments went dark. The cabin lights went out. The engines died even though they'd been idling. Complete darkness. Complete silence except for the storm. "What the hell?" Tyler whispered. I grabbed a flashlight from the emergency kit and tried the ignition. Nothing. The starter wouldn't even engage. "Stay here," I told Tyler. I went below to check the electrical panel. The breakers were all fine. The batteries showed full charge. Everything looked normal. But nothing was working. I went back to the wheelhouse. Everything looks fine mechanically. It's like something's interfering with all the electrical systems. How is that possible? I don't know. And then, through the rain and the darkness, we saw it. A light. In the water. About 100 yards off the starboard side. It was glowing. A pale blue-green color, like bioluminescence, but much, much brighter. Bright enough that it illuminated the water in a circle, maybe 60 feet across. "What is that?" Tyler asked. His voice was shaking. I didn't answer. I was watching the light. It was moving. Slowly circling the boat. We watched it make one complete circle around us, staying about 200 yards out. Then it stopped, directly ahead of our bow, and it started moving toward us. Marcus. Tyler's voice was barely audible. The light came closer. 100 yards. 70 yards. 50 yards. I could see now that it wasn't just a light. There was something solid at the center of the glow. Something massive. The light was emanating from it, or around it, illuminating its shape. It looked almost like a massive jellyfish, but wrong. The proportions were too symmetrical, too regular. And it was huge, at least 70 feet across. 30 yards away now. Tyler was gripping his seat, his knuckles white. "What do we do?" "Nothing," I whispered. "We do nothing. We don't move." 20 yards. I could see details now. The thing had a texture, translucent, almost like membrane or cartilage, with a pattern that reminded me of scales or segments, and it was glowing from within, like it had bioluminescent organs throughout its body. There were appendages or tendrils hanging down beneath it, disappearing into the dark water below. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. 10 yards. And then it stopped. It hovered there, just off the bow, maybe 30 feet away. The glow from it illuminated the entire front of the boat. I could feel heat radiating from it, not burning heat, but warmth, like standing near a campfire. Tyler and I stood frozen, barely breathing. Thing hung there in the water. I couldn't tell if it had eyes or sensory organs, but I had the overwhelming feeling that it was aware of us, that it was looking at us, studying us. I don't know how long we stood there. Time felt distorted, like it was moving both too fast and too slow simultaneously. It might have been 30 seconds. It might have been 10 minutes. And then the thing began to move backward. Slowly, maintaining the same distance from the bow, it retreated. 50 yards, 70 yards, 100 yards, and then it started to descend. The glow dimmed as it went deeper, 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 until finally it disappeared completely into the darkness below. The moment it vanished, everything came back online. The cabin lights flickered on. The instruments rebooted, their screens lighting up one by one. The engines started on their own, rumbling back to life without me touching the ignition. Tyler and I stared at each other. "Did that just happen?" he whispered. Before I could answer, Danny came running up from below, with Kevin right behind him. "What the hell's going on?" Danny demanded. The lights went out, then the engines. He stopped, seeing our faces. "What happened?" "There was something in the water," I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. "Something. I don't even know how to describe it." "We need to leave," Danny said immediately. "Right now. I don't care about the storm. We're getting the hell out of here." For once I didn't argue. We pulled up the anchor and started running for Newport at maximum speed. The storm was still raging, 30-foot seas, driving rain, wind gusting over 50 knots. Running in these conditions was dangerous, but staying out here felt more dangerous. For the first hour, everything seemed as normal as it could be, given the circumstances. We were making decent time despite the heavy seas. The engines were running smoothly. We hadn't seen any more lights or disturbances, but then the radio started acting strange. At first it was just static, normal interference from the storm. But then we started hearing voices, not clear transmissions, fragmented, distorted, voices talking over each other, fading in and out, and they were speaking different languages, some English, some Spanish, some languages I didn't recognize. Underneath it all was a sound, a low-frequency hum or tone, almost below the range of normal hearing. You felt it more than heard it. It made your chest feel tight and your teeth vibrate. "Turn that off," Denny said from the helm. I reached for the radio to shut it down, but before I could touch it, a voice came through clearly, clear English, a man's voice filled with panic. "Position 49 north, 124 west. We have 11 crew." They said it came from below. It pulled the boat down in seconds. No survivors found. It sounded like a distress call, an old one, judging by the audio quality and the crackle of static. But there was something wrong about it. There's something in the water. It's directly under us. "Oh God, it's coming up." The transmission cut to static. "What was that?" Tyler asked from the galley doorway. His face was pale. "Sounded like an old distress call," Kevy said. "But why would we be receiving it now?" Before anyone could answer, the radio crackled again. Another voice. Different person. Same desperate tone. "Taking on water. Something hit us from below. It's circling the boat. Please, someone respond. We need immediate assistance." Then another voice, overlapping the first. "2 crew members overboard. We can't find them. They were just there, and then they were gone. There's something down there." And another, "It's following us. We can't outrun it. Engines are at maximum, but it's staying right behind us. Please, anyone." More voices joined. 5, then 10, then what sounded like 20 or more, all talking over each other, all describing similar scenarios. Vessels in distress, things in the water, crews disappearing, all of them terrified. I shut off the radio. The wheelhouse went silent except for the storm and the engines. "Those were distress calls," Kevin said quietly. "Old ones, from boats that sank." "How many different voices?" I asked. "I counted at least 25, Kevin said. We all stood there, trying to process what we just heard. "I remember some of those calls," Denny said, his voice barely audible. "One of them was from about 15 years ago. A crab boat called the North Star went down about 70 miles offshore. They found debris but never found the boat or the crew." "Why would we be hearing them now?" Tyler asked. "Those calls happened years ago." "I don't know," Denny said. "Radio signals can bounce weird off the atmosphere sometimes. Or maybe..." He trailed off. "Maybe what?" "Maybe those signals never stopped broadcasting. Maybe they're still out there somehow echoing across the water." The thought was deeply unsettling. "Focus on getting us home," I said. "That's all that matters right now." "How far to Newport?" Danny checked the GPS. 32 miles, maybe 2.5 hours at this speed. "Can we go faster?" "Not safely in these seas," but I nudged the throttle forward anyway. For the next 2 hours, we ran hard toward the coast. The storm gradually lessened as we got closer to land. By the time we were 20 miles out, the rain had slowed and the wind had dropped to maybe 30 knots. We were starting to think we were going to make it. And then the engines started to sputter. "What's wrong with the engines?" Danny asked, his hand on the throttle. I checked the gauges. Fuel was fine. Oil pressure was good. Temperature normal. Everything looked okay. But the engines were definitely losing power. The RPMs were dropping. "I don't know," I said. "Something's affecting them." The port engine died completely. Then 5 seconds later, the starboard engine quit. We were dead in the water, drifting with the current about 18 miles offshore. "Try to restart them," Daddy said. I turned the ignition. The starters engaged. The engines turned over. But they wouldn't fire. "Something's blocking the fuel," I said. "Or the water intakes are clogged." "I'll check the engine room," Kevin volunteered. He disappeared below. A minute later he called up. "Found it. The seawater intakes are completely blocked. Something got sucked into them." "Can you clear it?" "I'm trying." While Kevin worked below, I went out on deck to check our position and assess the situation. And that's when I smelled it again. That chemical odor, chlorine and decay. I looked at the water. It was wrong. The same dark, oily appearance we'd seen before. the same unnatural sheen on the surface. And the water wasn't moving right. It was too thick, too sluggish. "Danny," I called toward the wheelhouse. "We've got a problem." He came out on deck. "What now?" I pointed at the water. "We're drifting into it again, whenever that contamination is." As we watched, the water around the boat grew darker, thicker, almost viscous. And then we saw the fish, hundreds of them, all dead, floating belly up on the surface. Different species, rockfish, lingcod, salmon, even a few small sharks, all dead, all with the same desiccated appearance as the crabs we'd pulled up earlier. "Jesus Christ," Danny whispered. The smell was overwhelming now. That chemical rot stench, so strong it made your eyes burn and your throat close up. Tyler came running out on deck, then immediately doubled over and vomited over the side. "We need to get out of here," Danny said. "Right now. Kevin, how's it going down there?" Kevin's voice came from below, muffled but urgent. "I'm clearing it as fast as I can. There's black stuff packed into the intakes, same material as what was on the pots. Work faster." I looked around us. The dead zone extended in every direction as far as I could see. We were in the middle of it, drifting deeper. And then I noticed something else. The water was getting darker. Not just the oily contamination. The actual light was fading. It was only 3 p.m., but it looked like dusk, like something was blocking the sun. I looked up. The sky was wrong. There were clouds, but they weren't normal storm clouds. These were darker, with a strange greenish tint to them. And they were moving wrong, not with the wind, but in circular patterns, like they were being pulled toward a central point. That point was directly above us. "Danny," I said quietly, "look at the sky." He looked up. His face went pale. "What is that?" "I don't know." The circular cloud pattern was tightening, spinning faster. The center was getting darker. It almost looked like a whirlpool in the sky. And then we felt it. A vibration, deep and low, below the range of normal hearing. You felt it in your chest, in your bones, in your teeth. The same vibration we'd felt before, on the radio. "It's here," Tyler whispered. His voice was shaking. "Whatever it is, it's here." The water around the boat started to move. Not waves, actual movement, like the entire surface was being pulled towards something. "Kevin," I shouted down into the engine room. "We need those engines now." "Almost there," he called back. 30 more seconds. The boat started to drift faster. We were being pulled. The circular movement in the water was tightening. Just like the clouds above, we were at the center of something massive, something that was drawing everything toward it. The vibration intensified. It was painful now, like your bones were resonating in a frequency they weren't designed for. And then, maybe 50 yards off the port side, the water bulged upward. Not a wave, not a swell. The water itself rose up, forming a dome maybe 20 feet high and 40 feet across. And then it split open. Something emerged. I can't describe it accurately. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. It was like trying to describe a color that doesn't exist. It was organic, definitely alive, but it didn't look like any living thing I'd ever seen. The closest I can come is to say it looked like if you took the nervous system of some massive creature and made it solid and visible. A branching fractal network of translucent tissue, glowing faintly from within, pulsing with some kind of internal fluid or energy, and it was huge. The part that emerged from the water was maybe 30 feet tall, but I could see more of it beneath the surface, much more. It had no eyes that I can see, no face, no features I could identify as sensory organs, but I knew it was aware of us. The appendages, or whatever they were, reached out toward the boat, not grabbing, not attacking, almost exploring, like fingers, trying to understand something by touch. "Kevin," I screamed, "start the fucking engines." And then, like a miracle, the engines roared to life. Danny didn't hesitate. He slammed the throttle to maximum. The boat lurched forward, engines screaming. The thing's appendages withdrew slightly, almost like it was surprised by the sudden movement. We accelerated, 10 knots, 15, 20. I looked back. The thing was following us. It moved through the water unlike anything I'd ever seen. Not swimming, not propelling itself. It was almost like the water itself was moving it, or like it was part of the water, and could reshape itself at will. And it was fast. We were doing 20 knots, nearly full speed, and it was keeping pace effortlessly. "It's following us," Tyler shouted. "I can see that," Danny yelled back, his hands white-knuckled on the wheel. The dead zone stretched ahead of us. Dark water, dead fish, that terrible smell. We were plowing through it at maximum speed, the bow throwing up spray that looked black and oily. For maybe 2 minutes, the thing kept pace with us, staying about 50 yards behind, and then gradually it started to fall back. 60 yards, 70, 100. The water around us was getting lighter, clearer. The smell was fading. We were leaving the dead zone. At 200 yards behind us, the thing stopped. It hovered there, half in and half out of the water, its incomprehensible form pulsing with that faint internal glow. And then it sank back down into the ocean and disappeared. We kept running. Nobody said anything. We just ran. We didn't slow down until we could see the coastline. 15 miles out, the ocean looked normal again. Blue-gray water, normal swells, seabirds circling overhead. The smell was gone. The dead fish were gone. Everything was normal. Except for us, we gathered in the wheelhouse, all 4 of us, and just stared at each other. "What do we tell people?" Kevin finally asked. "Nothing," I said immediately. "We tell them nothing." "What do you mean, nothing?" Tyler said. "We have to report this, to the Coast Guard, to NOAA, to somebody." "Report what?" Danny asked. "That we saw something we can't describe? That all our instruments went haywire? That we heard ghost voices on the radio? They'll think we're crazy, or drunk, or making it up for attention. But something's out there," Tyler insisted. "Something dangerous. People need to know." "You think people will believe us?" I asked. "Do you think they'll take 4 fishermen seriously when we say we saw a sea monster that glows in the dark and shuts down electrical equipment? You think the Navy or the Coast Guard is going to mount an expedition based on our story?" Tyler didn't have an answer for that. "We don't tell anyone," I said. "Not officially. We say the trip was a bust. Bad weather, contaminated fishing grounds, lost gear. We took a financial hit and came home early. That's it. That's the story." "And if someone asks about the missing pots," Kevin asked, "we lost them in the storm. End of story." We all agreed. What else could we do? We reached Newport Harbor just after 6 p.m. The sun was setting. The town looked beautiful and normal and safe. We tied up at the dock, unloaded the small amount of crab we'd managed to keep, and went our separate ways. I haven't been back to the ocean since. That was 3 years ago now. December 2023. I sold the Lady Sarah 6 months later. Told everyone I was retiring. My back couldn't handle the work anymore. My body was giving out. All the usual excuses. Danny retired too. Said he was done. Moved inland, up to Portland. I talk to him sometimes. We never discuss what happened. We don't need to. Kevin got a job working construction. Makes less money, but he's on dry land. He told me once that he has nightmares about the ocean, about drowning in black water. Tyler quit fishing after one more trip. Said it wasn't the same. Said he couldn't stop thinking about what might be down there, under the boat watching. Last I heard, he moved back to Portland and was working in a warehouse. I still live in Newport. I can see the ocean from my house. Sometimes late at night, I stand on my deck and look out at the water. It's dark and vast and unknowable. And I think about what's out there. The scientists tell us we've only explored 5% of the ocean. The rest is a complete mystery, 7 miles deep in some places. Trenches and canyons and underwater mountains we've never seen. Entire ecosystems that have never been touched by sunlight. What lives down there? What else is hiding in the deep water? I don't know, and I don't want to know. The ocean keeps its secrets, and some secrets should stay buried. But sometimes when I'm standing on my deck late at night, looking out at the dark water, I see lights, faint blue-green glows, far out on the horizon, too far to be boats, too bright to be bioluminescent plankton. And I know it's still out there, whatever it is, still hunting, still feeding, still waiting. The ocean is deeper than you think, and it's full of things that shouldn't exist. Take my advice. Stay on land. Stay where it's safe. And if you ever find yourself 60 miles offshore in the middle of winter, and you see something in the water that doesn't make sense, and your instruments start going haywire, and you smell that chemical stench in the air. Run as fast as you can, and don't look back. Because some things aren't meant to be seen, some things aren't meant to be known. And the ocean doesn't forgive mistakes. My name is Marcus. I was a fisherman for 27 years, and I'll never go back to deep water again. Hit like if this story disturbed you, and drop a comment telling me what you think Marcus saw. Out there, subscribe for more true stories from people who see things they can't explain. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.